The first weekend of WNBA action has come and gone, so I've got my 5 overreactions after just 1 or 2 game sample size. It's 5 out here on No Cap Space. And welcome back, everybody. It's No Cap Space WBB. It's Andrew Hobner. Happy to be with you. Happy you are here with us on a lovely start to the week. The WNBA regular season officially underway. And as always, we have all the info wherever you need it. You can subscribe to our free daily newsletter at nocapspacewbb.com. It's got all the links, all the videos, all the social posts, all the fun stuff from around the league, our thoughts on what's going on. Pretty much your one-stop shop for all things ball knowledge in women's hoops and a couple of hot takes every now and again. Continue to support us here on YouTube. Thank you all very much for doing it. We have just crossed over 8,000 subscribers, a huge milestone for us, going on to 10,000 subscribers here come All-Star break. That is our goal. Also, a big thank you to everybody that has been involved with this channel, with our site, with our outlet since we got started 3 years ago. It's pretty cool to announce that our very own Tyler DeLuca is able to take this thing full time with No Cap now. And that comes as a result of viewers like you, of readers like you, of people that subscribe to the newsletter, that pay for the Ball Knowers tier, that watch and share our stuff here on YouTube. It gets to a point where we are able financially to take the 5 of us who are all doing this part-time. We all have day jobs, and this is just something that we love to do and really enjoy doing for you and for us and for the game itself. Well, we've gotten to a point where we've made enough that we can start breaking off some of our own people to make them full-time No Cap Space employees. So congratulations to our own Tyler DeLuca, who is officially No Cap employee number 1. This is a new thing. For those of you that have subscribed to the site for a really long time, for those that follow me on social media at @A_G_Hobner on Twitter, you will know I have 5 out. This is our flagship column. I've been writing this thing for about 3 years now, and it is my enjoyment to do and be able to kind of take the week or weekend in review and make it something fun. So given the fact that we did not really have all that much in the way of I can't really take much out of the first weekend of the season, right? It's 1 game, 2 game sample size. I don't really know what I'm looking at yet. And I think anybody that tells you they know what they're looking at is a fool. I mean, we all have a job here, right? We all have the ability to make our own takes, to formulate takes, to make things good for folks to see and get them arguing about stuff. But I wanted to be careful about it because I wanted hedge the bet and tell you that these are overreactions, right? Like anything you think in the first week is always an overreaction, but that doesn't mean it can't be fun. So an overreaction we shall get. I'm going to actually pull this up so you can see it in full. Number 1, first of all, this is part of the newsletter. If you see the in case you missed it, you'll get links to all of our YouTube clips, podcasts if they're around, any other stories, really just giving you the opportunity to find everything. But number 1, first overreaction, Dallas Wings, a title contender? Maybe not that far, but after a 1 game sample size, my overreaction is it's working. It's working. Anytime you have a brand new system like this, right, and you have a group of players that you question whether or not they can work together, my belief is always the first 5 to 10 games is going to be pretty instructive about whether or not this is going to work. Now, there are teams that I would say are or can be exceptions to this rule, right? Las Vegas, for instance, last year. You still have Asia Wilson. You still have Chelsea Gray. You still have Jackie Young. This team won 2 titles prior. It wasn't good up until about August, but I think in the back of your head, there was always like, there's another gear for this team. They're just not hitting it yet until they inevitably did and ran that all the way to a championship this past year. For most other teams, it really comes down to, does it work early? Can the system work early? And in the first game we have watched, the 3-guard Jose Fernandez lineup looked pretty darn good, man. Odyssey Sims, for those that always ask, why is Odyssey Sims not consistently on a roster? It really does boil down to her consistency. She has great 20-plus point games, and then 2, 3, 4 games that come after it, she might not play or shoot the ball particularly well, but you remember the good game. The inconsistency and the fact that she really is a shoot-first point guard is why a lot of teams don't carry her on rosters in the long term. Now, there is a funny little dichotomy that happens between Odyssey Sims and, say, somebody like Kelsey Plum, but we'll get to that in a minute because I do mention LA and 5 out this week as well. But the 3-guard rotation worked pretty well. Paige Beckers, Arike Ogunbowale, and Odyssey Sims. All 3 of them played really, really well together, shot the ball well, played great defense on the other end, got out in transition. Jose Fernandez wants them to play fast. He's talked about that all throughout preseason, and you saw just how much they were able to get out and run in this game. And I came away extraordinarily impressed. Paige Beckers, the efficiency is obviously, I don't think she's going to be shooting, 80% the entirety of the season. But I think for Paige, it's the assist to turnover ratio, right? Like she's just really controlled with the ball, got a good handle on it when she's, playing on ball. And, that's the stuff that you need out of an offensive facilitator. And there's so many shooters on this Wings team. This is what Jose Fernandez was always really good at in the college game, was finding these sort of like European stashes who ended up being really good, but he never had power forward talent because he was coaching out of USF and didn't want to leave. Well, now you got Paige, now you got Arike, and now you got Jess Shepard and Alana Smith. There's a lot of good here on this team. I'm not buying too much into AZ Fudd just yet, being slow in game 1. I think all of these rookies, for the most part, outside of Olivia Miles, had pretty quiet debuts and then played a little better in game 2, specifically the Mystics. And so I think there is plenty of time that you can take. I'm not going to overreact to rookies just yet. That we'll save that for a 1-week sample size instead of a 1-game sample size. But to me, what's more important is Dallas looks cohesive in game 1 against a team that we think is a top 4 unit in the league in the Indiana Fever. And I don't really think it knocks Indiana all that much. I mean, I've got a bit on Caitlin Clark here that I'll discuss in a moment, but if I'm going to overreact to any team in particular, it probably is going to be Dallas, because I think they were the biggest surprise. I didn't expect them to win off rip, and here they are playing that well in that game on the road off rip. Not too shabby. All right. Overreaction number 2. Nick Uren, the scouting god of the WNBA, evidently. I don't know where this dude keeps finding these players. And there's been a long time discussion in the WNBA, right, about how these teams scout or do not scout, where they're drafting these players. Are they overvaluing tournament performance? Are they ignoring mid-majors completely? Are they not giving those players that aren't coming with big brand names enough time to stay on a roster to potentially develop? How is expansion helping that? But also, how deep into the EuroLeague are you going for these players? And this past year, after getting Alyssa Thomas in free agency, Nick Uren, the general manager of Phoenix, decided that he was going to go all in on that concept. Catherine Westbeld, Khadija Laksa, Lexi Held. I mean, these are players that were drafting stashes from years and years ago that really nobody ever thought was going to be someone that you kind of took a chance on in the league. And interestingly enough, the argument has always been that this league is not good at letting young players develop and grow, and they prioritize vets or older players. Well, there's this interesting thing happening now as expansion is happening, where the roster sizes are naturally getting bigger by order of 12 or 13 players per year adding to the pool. So in addition to the younger players that you have to bring back in that, maybe fell out of draft favor in 2023, and now we're looking at something different, taking a 28-year-old that's never played here but has taken their entire career in the EuroLeague is actually kind of a prudent move, because a lot of that talent level still sort of sits in the same place. So enter Jovana Nogic, who is a 28-year-old Serbian who played college basketball at Providence, has been abroad for basically the entirety of her career, has been very good. She played for Ekaterinburg, which was the super team in Russia that DT and Brittany Griner played for a really long time. Won a couple MVPs in the Russian Cup. And is one heck of a shooter and always has been. Comes over here. She's 8 of 10 from 3 in her first 2 games, one of the highest debut percentages of a three-point shooter that any player has ever had in this league. And Alyssa Thomas, through 2 games, is averaging 19, 11, and 10. I mean, whatever we want to think about AT as a player, that whether or not she can win you a final or not, the question about this team was, where are you going to get your additional offense? Do I think Nogic is going to be the type of player that's going to, be able to sustain that shooting clip for a whole season? No. But we're talking about another sort of no-name player that's come in and been able to do this, be exactly the player that Phoenix has needed. And we still have not gotten Monique Kakoa-Makani or Valeria Ayayi from France back via their overseas commitments. They're still delayed getting back, and Ayayi might have some additional trouble. There's question about Praha, which is the Czech club super team, really, in the EuroLeague, potentially letting her get out of her contract. I have to get a little more information on what's going on over there, but there is a potential delay that might be happening with her in particular. But generally, man, this is a pretty interesting team all of a sudden, and a big reason is because Nicky Wren just keeps finding these players. And if he keeps finding the players, then Phoenix is going to continue to be really good. They're 1-1, right? Like it's a 2-game sample size that really kind of gave you the best and worst of Phoenix. Like the best was what they did to Vegas on ring night. And the worst of what you can get is them losing to Golden State in the way that they did. So I'm not taking anything I'm not reading too deeply into Phoenix and their ceiling after the small sample of a first weekend, but my overreaction to this is like Nicky Wren might legitimately be the best scouting GM in the WNBA. And there's some good ones now. For whatever we want to say about Ohema Nianen, she's pretty good at identifying talent, right? Jonathan Cobb, really good at identifying talent. Vanya Trinovic up in Portland, pretty good at identifying talent. I think Nicky Wren is the best right now, especially about getting value players. He's that dude. So I'm overreacting to that. Okay, time to talk about the LA Sparks. Did they blow it up for no reason whatsoever? This is the overreaction that also serves as a take a bow moment for Tyler DeLuca. You saw his video, I'm sure, talking about Cameron Brink a little earlier this afternoon, which you can find here on our page. Boy, if I'm overreacting to this, I'm looking at LA like, what the hell did you do? I mean, Rakia Jackson looks good. I mean, granted, there's things to say about Rakia on the defensive end that I'll get to when I get to point 5. But man, you went all in on Kelsey Plum, man. And I get it. I get the desire. I get the risk to do so, but that's not a point guard. It's not a point guard. That is a shooting guard masquerading as a point guard. That is NBA ISO ball. That is the men's game stuff that we hope does not make its way over here. Just a lack of movement. One player gets it, and everyone just kind of stands around and watches, whether it's KP or NECA or De'Erica Hamby. Ariel Atkins had a decent game, played decent defense, but that shooting touch is just, it's not there in the same way. And then you have Cam Brink, who, as Tyler talked about, this is year 3. I get it. 35 games in. We still have to give a little bit of grace to a player that's coming off injury. But look, man, I covered Pac-12 basketball from 2018 to 2022 in Eugene, Oregon. I watched a lot of Cameron Brink. I watched Cameron Brink when she was playing at Sherwood High, man. The fouls have always been a problem. Freshman year at Stanford, still been a problem. Sophomore, junior, senior at Stanford, been a problem. Rookie year in LA, problem. Injury, even still, problem. Unrivaled, still had it. Now, the difference with Unrivaled is because it's 3-on-3, there's a little bit more floor spacing, which I think helps her. And when you get to 5s, unfortunately, like, this is where the big checks are now. You know what I mean? Like, you can't rest your laurels on being a good 3-on-3 player. It's kind of the Haley Van Lith thing, right? But the difference is that HVL was a second-round draft pick, or at least a late first. Cameron Brink was a number 2 overall pick. And I understand that the injury stuff is there and that there is time, plenty of time, in fact, for her to figure this out. But you're 3 as a number 2 pick, and you can't get on the floor when your athletic talent and your ability is really is pretty inarguable at this point. Everybody knows you're good. Everybody knows what the ceiling is. I mean, there was a fair argument people were making about the ceiling of Cam Brink being the highest of anybody in the draft. And I still don't necessarily disagree with that assessment. It's just the window for her achieving that is getting smaller and smaller. And when you look at Lynn Roberts' quote in full context, it doesn't sound all that bad. The issue is, though, you have to do the right things in practice for your coaches to be able to trust you to get in the game. And when you get in the game, you have to do the right things there. If you're fouling a ton in practice and you're fouling a lot in games, you will not see the floor. And I get we need to be a little more careful in these critiques, but like, this is a basketball critique, man. You can't foul you can't foul as prolifically as she does and expect to succeed at this level. Point blank, period. And like at a certain point, the grace period does kind of go away. So if you're going to overreact to that, I don't think you're out of place to do it with her right now. I think there's space before we can definitively say that this is a long-term problem. But boy, if you want to overreact to the Sparks, I mean, what did you throw all this away for? I mean, you had the second pick, you had Rikia and Brink. You could have ended up with Malonga. You could have traded that pick out for somebody other than Plum. You could have traded it for a future pick, right? Like, you could have taken the second pick and traded that down to get a lottery pick this year and then gotten in Olivia Miles, right? And I think Miles not declaring that year really altered the trajectory of what this franchise wanted to do, right? Because you needed the point guard. It was very clear that Kurt Miller was going all in to try and get Paige Beckers there. And once they didn't, it was very obvious that there was no backup plan because you had the 3, you had the 5. Are you really going to take Dominique Malonga and potentially jam up traffic in the middle? The Angel and Camilla experiment in Chicago has told us that maybe that's not the best idea. Washington is about to teach us the same thing potentially with Betts and Austin. But even in the same space, I mean, you really decided to take the young core you had and flip it. So it's 30-plus-year-old Kelsey Plum, 30-plus-year-old NECA, 30-plus-year-old Hamby. What is even the window? 3 years tops before age starts to catch up to some of them? Like, I don't – this is the one where I don't even feel like it's all that much of an overreaction, but, like, boy, it looked bad. You look like you could compete with them for the first half, but, the big issue with Lynn Roberts is Lynn Roberts does not – I don't know why. Like, scoreless streaks and when teams go on runs, girl, don't take those timeouts home with you. You got to know when to stop the run, and she just doesn't seem to know when to stop the run. That's the problem. Point number 4, overreaction. Golden State has a vision, and maybe all of us just need to shut the F up, including myself. Ohemini Yanin, take a bow. 2 good games, 2 really early returns for Golden State. Gabby Williams, I don't know if Gabby Williams is a 1A that can win you a championship, but Gabby Williams is pretty clearly proving that she can be a 1A on this team. Janelle Salon looks awesome off the bench. She's rapidly flying up my list of favorite players in the W. She is just a blast in a glass, man. She's a lot of fun. Letitia Ami here. Don Staley, for whatever you want to say about Don Staley's activities on Twitter, Don Staley was absolutely, and still is absolutely in the right to defend Letitia Ami here on the merits that she is damn good. Because when we talk about whether or not players are developing in year 1, 2, 3, or 4, it is very clear that Letitia Ami here has become a better player last year to this year. And all she needed was that time. She needed that space. She's one of those players where if you're scouting effectively and you have a good development program, you can make that player better. And do I still think that there was a little bit of EQ issues with Golden State and how they seem to handle players that they don't necessarily feel fit into their system or vision anymore? Yeah, I still think that it's still a people business, and I still think the way they move is a little funky. But overall, I mean, what we're seeing on the floor kind of is like, well, you're winning, so I guess I guess it works somehow, right? And that's sort of the cure-all is winning. Stacking up dubs is going to make everybody forget about what you did, in draft season. And I feel like that is probably the biggest overreaction you can have to all of this is Golden State is clearly thinking right. Like, maybe they made the right decision in doing all of this. And if that is the case, egg on my face, because I was one of the ones that was out there criticizing them for the moves that they were making. Do I still think it was poor asset management? Sure. But if you've got the vision and the vision is working, who am I to judge, man? Who am I to judge? All right, final five. This is probably the biggest overreaction of all, and one that is likely to spark the most conversation. Is the 2024 draft class actually developing? And I saw a little bit of this on social media this weekend, and it was interesting to think about, right? Caitlin Clark still has some trouble going left. The ball's not as much on a string as I would like it to be. She doesn't have wiggle, so like it's, when people look at Kelsey Mitchell as like a player with handles, it's really like there's a wiggle in there that I think Caitlin or like a Sabrina don't really have as much. The turnovers are still an issue, even though, it was 5 and not 10 in this one. And I think that matters. Still coming off that leg injury. Still, even with a bad shooting night by her standards, 20 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists. Like those are still like, you're going to end up in the final, in the MVP voting top 3 to top 4 if you have those as season averages come the end of the season, but when you are the player that we deign to be, generational, transformational, and something different, we do expect to see little addendums to your game every year. And some of the problems that Caitlin Clark has are still problems that she had day one. Angel Reese still is not holding that ball up here in the post the way she needs to, possession into possession. She's still going low and trying to bring it high, whether it be a shot, whether it be she gets the ball and collects it in the block. That's a day one problem. Cam Brink, fouling, day one problem. Camila Cardoso so far is the only one that's been able to kind of escape this. She had a great game with Chicago in this new look Sky, but the question for her is, how active and involved are you when you are not the focal point of P&R? And look, she's basically going to be the person to run pick and roll with, so maybe it's going to be different now that she's got that incentive. But Rakia Jackson still is struggling defensively, and the both of them are, for that matter. They're still not where they need to be, and those were day one critiques. So what does that all mean, right? If you want to overreact, you can ask the question, and someone would say you're reading way too deep into it, given that it's just the start of the year. But if you really want to kind of go that distance and overreact to it, you can ask the question, like, how much development has actually happened for these players going into year 3? This is usually 3 to 4 years is the average jump. And I worked on this story like a couple years ago, and I never got around to finishing it. I think it might be sitting in the drafts of like an old Substack somewhere, honestly. But when you look at the data, especially for guards, year 4 is usually when the jump happens. Kelsey Plum, Sabrina Ionescu, Jackie Young, Sophie Cunningham. Kelsey Mitchell was pretty good when she first got into the league. Kalia Copper was a year 4 jump. Basically, like there's a lot of players that where it takes 3 to 4 years, mid-20s is when they finally make the leap. So I'm not out on the 24 class in terms of their ceiling just yet. But I think if you want to start monitoring something to overreact to later, it might just be this thing of like, this was a class, a generational class, mind you, of high floor, high ceiling players. So it's not to say that they're busts, right? Because the high floor is still established. They're still very, very good. Caitlin, Rakia, Camilla, Angel, etc., all very good. But the ceiling is really high. So it's like, where are you getting from here to here to here? And what work are you doing to get there? It's still early. Again, overreaction pod. That's why it is. But I am interested in watching that as a sub story, like a subplot, if you will, to go through the remainder of this year. Because if that 2024 class continues to put together good numbers, but like as players from a sheer basketball side of things, what they're doing still looks similar to what they did as rookies, then we kind of have to have that conversation about what are they doing to develop themselves, but what are the coaches doing to develop them in the same way? And Angel, I think, is the one in particular where I am most interested in how this goes, because Carl Smesco is a player development guy. A lot of those players that you've seen between last year and this year are better than they were. Like they play better than they did. So I think Smesko has the ability to do that with Angel. She's the one that I'm watching. Like if she gets that like entry point of the ball and takes it from down here to up here, like it's a very simple thing and it's a hard habit to break. But if she does that, this is going to be a problem for the rest of the league with the team that they have right there. So those are your 5 overreactions. And as a extra little sweetener before we go, I usually do a little statistic bit called 3-ball here. And the funniest thing I saw this week, why does Jade Melbourne keep having teeth? Like, what's happening here? You know, WNBL chips a tooth. Last year with the Mystics, chips a tooth. This first game against the Storm, chips a tooth. And it's like, we got to get her a mouth guard, man. Like 3 times through is too much. It's a lot of dental work. I hope that that dentist is giving them a discount at least, or there is a team dentist, if that. Maybe that's covered under the new WNBA CBA. I would certainly hope so. We got a lot more to talk about. Some interesting business stuff, TV deal work with the WNBA, a lot of money that's come in. But in the meantime, there are a whole lot of things that you can catch on NoCapSpaceWBB.com, from the newsletter to game coverage. Tyler is going to be boots on the ground in Dallas on Tuesday night, and I will be, along with Shawnee, boots on the ground in Atlanta on Sunday for Aces versus Dream. That's going to be a blast. So hang with us. Subscribe here, join the newsletter, join the Ball Knowers tier. There's more content coming, especially as the season has officially begun. But that's all you got for this week in 5 Out. You can expect these on Mondays going forward. But for now, I'm Andrew Hobner. This is No Cap Space. We'll see y'all very soon.